Hello and welcome back, guys. This will be my second installment for the top 5 things to have for any gigging musician or beginner musician that has nothing to do with music. Just to give you a little recap, number 2 was a tablet, something to stay organized on, calendar, messaging your bandmates. Also useful for having tabs on it for notation, along with, in my case, I use it to control my band's monitor mixes, so what we're hearing on stage, and in this case, the main volume or mix that the audience hears. Very, very useful, very, very versatile. And then first, again, these are really in no particular order, was hearing protection. Making sure you're protecting your ears. Last thing you need is having your hearing go. It's a little tough to be a musician when that happens. People have done it, but it's not easy. But that does get me into number 3. Again, no particular order, but next comes reliable transportation. If you're a student, if you're a kid still, obviously you probably aren't going to be driving necessarily. But mom and dad hopefully can get you where you need to go. Otherwise, I don't know, bus maybe? Something that runs on time. But reliable transportation for most people will end up being their personal vehicle. Me, myself, what really works for me is my Pilot, which is a 3-row SUV. Gets decent gas mileage, and it has enough room for all of my personal audio equipment, meaning my bass rig, my basses, my guitars, whatever. But in addition to my band's audio equipment, I am the one who runs it all, and for the most part owns it as well. But I have speakers, I have mixers, I have cables and rack boxes. All that stuff needs to fit. If you're just you and your guitar or bass and your personal rig, you might not need something that big. Or heck, if you're a singer and all you have is a vocal mic and maybe a monitor or your in-ears, maybe all you need is a motorcycle. But it comes down to personal preference and what works for you and your budget. But ultimately, that is what's going to get you to and from your gigs. If it's going to break down on you, or if it's not going to start, or what have you, you might be letting down the venue, or your bandmates, or heck, somebody else. I don't know. Whatever person is relying on you is also relying on your transportation. So make sure it's up to date as far as oil changes and whatnot, and it's going to get you where you need to go. Nice thing about this is, again, these two things kind of go together. Hearing protection's on my keys, so with my keys. Now, number 4 is, well, again, going to be kind of dependent upon you more than anything. A few things. What your abilities are as far as repairs on your personal equipment, and what type of equipment you have. For number 4, got a toolkit, small toolkit, multi-tool, whatever works for you. In my case, I have this little kind of ratcheting screwdriver set. It has multiple screwdriver bits, along with some, I don't know, torque wrench heads. Haven't needed those all that much, but the ratcheting action of the screwdriver itself is very nice. I paid pretty sure $0 on this. I think this was a freebie from something, and I've had it for probably longer than I was in school, probably college at least. But again, what kind of tools you use may depend on your abilities as far as fixing your gear. Now for me, anything that goes wrong with my guitars, basses, audio equipment, unless it's tightening something down, for the most part, I get it to somebody who knows what they're doing. I can do a little bit, very small, tiny tweaks or repairs, but ultimately I have a shop that I trust very, very much to take care of my equipment. And I do also have regular maintenance done to my guitars as well, setups and whatnot, which is good to be done, you know, maybe semi-annually, almost like your oil changes, because when the seasons change, so can your guitars and basses. But I very frequently will have, I mean, if it's just a down the road kind of gig, I'll just bring maybe a screwdriver and a nippers. So if I do need to maybe tighten something down, this will fit most of my equipment as far as screws go. And then obviously if I need to change strings, this is good to have as well to get off the extra string length that I may need. It does not hurt to have a string winder as well. Makes the actual changes quite a bit quicker when you gotta crank the thing a bunch of times. But again, there are multi-tools you can get for probably about 20 bucks that most likely have all of these things, maybe minus the torque wrench heads. But it'll do just fine, and it most likely can actually just fit in your pocket. But that does bring me to my fifth and final top 5 thing to bring or to have if you're a musician. It's a good backpack. So for your consideration, I submit the Duluth Trading Company Dozer Backpack. This thing I have had since approximately the end of college, or maybe in middle of college, so probably like spring semester, but January, February is when I got it. Again, that's about 5 years ago now. But the thing you're going to want to look for, if for whatever reason you don't go for this bag, is a few different things. Tough material, for one. This is their fire hose material, which is kind of like a very, very thick canvas. It has leather joints and appointments here, which are also very solid, top handle here. And in addition to that, it is structurally sound, so it can actually stand upright on its own. It's not me doing anything. And the reason for that is the rim here that kind of frames your main pocket, I believe is PVC, so it has its own kind of structure. And that same structure is what brings me to the next thing. Making sure that the space between your pockets, the lining, is very, very tough. Because in my experience, that's where things are going to break. I had a very expensive backpack when I started my senior year of college. The reason I got it is because I figured, well, it'd be nice to get a good backpack so that after college, if I ever do any traveling or just need a simple overnight bag that I don't want to pack a suitcase or something, or a duffel bag, I could use consistently. Cost $80, and about a month into the semester, the space between the front pocket and then the main pocket tore through. It's still usable, I still have it, I have used it for other things, but when it comes to my equipment, that's not going to cut it. But this is a very good option. It does come in, at least when I bought it, about $50 more expensive than that other bag did. But again, it's been about 5 years, and the worst damage that has happened to it is on the back of the straps. There's a little bitty tear. This is just where the padding is held in. Really nothing else. Other than maybe some rubbing on the inside, you know, here and there where stuff is sitting. But I cannot think of the last gig that I have not brought this backpack to. Just because when I travel for shows, I like to keep the things that need to be used for my personal rig separate from the stuff that runs the band's equipment. Mainly so that if one of the bandmates is helping me set up, they know that if it's in here, this goes for my stuff. If it's in there, it goes with the band's stuff. So there's not mixing of cables or whatever. But again, if this is not for you, that's fine. If you feel like it's too expensive, I get that. It is at 130 bucks, and and whatnot. It's a pretty expensive backpack, but one thing to keep in mind is, again, just like all of the other things on this list, this can be used for other things as opposed to maybe, say, a rack box that is pretty specific to music. This has been my overnight bag. This has been, again, my personal equipment bag. This has been used for just general band equipment, holding things that it probably was never ever designed to hold, and it stood up really good, really great. Full disclosure though, I did look these up before making this video, and the Dozer 2.0, apparently the upgraded version of this with a few different features, of those I'll let you check out on your own, is coming in at about 200 bucks, though Duluth Trading Company does throw out deals there. I didn't mean to make this turn into a Duluth Trading Company commercial. I am not sponsored by them. I bought this on my own, full price, but it's a really good option, and again, it can be used for many, many different things as opposed to just one thing for music. So really good option to have, and it is going to be a lot better on your back than just an over-the-shoulder bag because of the two straps and a nice padding. Well, guys, that is my spiel for the top 5 things that every gigging musician should have, and beginner musician, ideally, that have nothing to do with music. So I appreciate you bearing with me on splitting this into 2 separate videos, and keep your eye out for more. Keep playing. You guys have a good day, and go Packers.